British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will chair an emergency meeting tonight to discuss the COVID-19 situation. He is expected to approve moving to the delay phase of response, which includes more stringent measures to counter this outbreak.
At the moment, the UK is at containment phase, but over the past 24 hours, more than 80 new infections have been detected, taking the total to 456. The death toll stands at 8.
Well, there are also calls for Parliament to be suspended. That's after an MP tested positive. Ollie Barrett joins us live from London for a closer look at this situation. Hi, Ollie. Britain is currently in this first phase, containment, but Boris Johnson has said that the current strategy of just containing COVID-19 is extremely unlikely to work on its own. So tell us what containment has involved.
The containment phase is when you have a relatively small amount of cases and you identify exactly who they are, you isolate them, you then get in contact with anyone that they have been in contact with recently to see if they need to be tested and isolated themselves, if they test positive, to really try and stop the spread of the outbreak beyond that small number of people. Moving into the delay phase means that there is an acceptance that the virus is now spreading more quickly in the country, that it is not something that you can contain any longer, and that therefore you need to try and delay the spread so that you can ease the pressure on things like the National Health Service as the number of cases grow. Now, we have been in the contain phase, but medical advisors here in the UK have been saying for some time that we're effectively straddling the contain and delay phase. And Boris Johnson said earlier this week as well that once Britain does move into delay, that won't mean you stop trying to contain. But it does mean that further move into the delay phase of the UK strategy, that we are likely to see more measures imposed to try and delay the spread of COVID-19 here.
And Ollie, what's been the reaction like on the ground? Is there a feeling that the government is overreacting, or is it that their response is not enough?
I think there's a real mixture of emotions when it comes to government policy. I think there has been an acceptance that there has been a pretty impressive performance from the advisors to the government. The Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Scientific Advisor have been seen very publicly. Their advice has been calm and professional and clear. They've explained their decision-making process at every stage. At the same time, the government is saying that it's going to act on scientific advice, not based on what is best for it politically, but the government is coming under significant pressure. We've just seen, for example, the Republic of Ireland saying it's going to close schools and colleges until March the 29th to get a handle on its outbreak. Well, that leads many to say here in the UK, why aren't we taking the same measures? The scientific advisors say we don't believe that closing schools en masse at this stage is the right thing to do. It may not be particularly effective. They also say timing is key. They want to make sure that any drastic draconian measures they put in place are timed towards the peak of the outbreak here in the UK, because they say if you bring these measures in too early, people get bored of them and stop taking notice of them when you need them to be doing so most. So it'll be very interesting indeed to see what type of measures the UK government believes are now becoming necessary.
Ollie, talk to us about this £30 billion stimulus plan that was announced yesterday. How are businesses taking to the news of this?
I think businesses have reacted pretty well to the budget. They have been very pleased to hear that the government is taking this seriously and committing a large amount of funding to it. But there are also businesses who are saying the various measures that the government has put in place, even with regards to supporting companies around sick pay and issues like that, and the central bank action from the Bank of England, cutting interest rates, making more funding and liquidity available, that is simply not going to help every different type of business in the UK. If you are a small shopkeeper, you simply aren't seeing the demand from footfall, for example. That is not necessarily going to be eased completely by the actions that the government has taken. So there is some acceptance that there is going to be an economic hit. The government says it's doing as much as it can to ease that economic hit, and the government and the Bank of England are also stressing that while there may be significant disruption to the UK economy, that they do believe that that disruption will be temporary.
Plenty of businesses certainly will want relief from this COVID-19 outbreak. Ollie, thank you very much for that. That was Ollie Barrett there reporting for us live from London.